Welcome back to Fempreneur Diaries, where we dive deep into the journeys of women who are breaking barriers, redefining industries, and proving that success isn't just a destination, it's a journey. Today, we're diving into a journey woven with yarn, dyed with dreams, and stitched with style. From textile design to fashion styling, from a college project to a creative studio, our guest today has done it all under one beautiful name, Dhaga Sera. Today on the podcast, we have Miss Shirley Shah. Hello,
Hi,
how are you?
thank you for having me, and I'm very excited to be on your podcast.
Um, let's start at the beginning. Start with your college project.
Yes. So I was in NIFT 2009 to 2013, and for our graduation project, I was pursuing bachelor's in textile design from NIST Ghaznagar, and in our last year, in our graduation project, we usually work with a lot of textile mills. And we have a lot of like swatches and wovens that we need to show as our final like graduation day project. And we usually, every NIFT student by the end of the year makes a book, which is in the NIFT library and in the Ministry of Textiles library. So I said, if I'm making and submitting a book as a graduation project, I want it to have a name. I don't want it to just be like Textiles by Shirali Shah. So I said, let me rack my brain on the kind of things that I have done throughout my graduation project. And because it was wovens and I was working with yarns and weaves and a lot of colors and things, I only just sat on Google Translate and went by like a list of like I think 7 to 10 names. But I'm like, okay, these are the things like weaving, yarns, dyeing, cotton, charkha. All of these things were on my list, and I started translating it one by one from Hindi to English or English to Hindi or vice versa. And then I came up with the name. Of course, there were a lot of permutations and combinations before I ended up naming the book, my graduation book, Dhada Sarang. But as soon as I put that, which actually means dyeing of yarns, because every dyed yarn is then woven into a fabric. So that is the starting point of how cloth is made. So I said, because my book is my entire graduation project is about woven fabrics, this is something that struck a chord with me. And I remember it was, I think, 10:30, 11 in the night, just a few days before my graduation. And I knocked my parents' room and they got so scared. They're like, what happened? I said, listen, I'm going to say this name and you let me know what you feel about it. And I just went to their rooms at night and I was like, just listen to this and hear the name Dhaga Sadam. And they're like, oh, what does it mean? And I said, it means dyeing of yarns and coloring of yarns. They're like, this is great. And I said, okay, Dad. So then we had to make an entire book. So on my project, I wrote Dhada Sarang, and as soon as I wrote it, I was like, okay, this is perfect. It looks also really great on the book. And that is how I just ended up with the name. And I went to my jury, presented my graduation project, and it was very well received. And one of my very supportive mentors, she's like, Shirali, I don't know how you came up with this name, but always stick to this, no matter what you do. That is what she told me. And I said, okay. Honestly, my idea was to go into textiles right after college. But because I had done my graduation, right during the graduation period, you have to go and work at other places. Right? So during my internships, I realized this 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 thing is not my jam at all. It's a lot of tedious work, and I don't mind working hard. It's just that I would love to do it at my pace and my time. So I said, you know what? I'll stick to this name, but I just don't want to do anything related to textiles as of now.
Yeah.
And I think I graduated May 10th or 11th. I don't remember the exact date. But by August, I had decided that I wanted to become a stylist. And that is how the entire name came by. And that is how like Kavasaram came came into formation and the brand was built there. in college.
Wow, this is very impromptu as well as the name, like you said.
Yeah.
And I love that how when you get a very short spark of an idea,
Yeah.
don't
And honestly, that gut feeling or whatever, of course, I asked my parents about it, but I was just very, very sure of that one name. And I only went to them with one name, not the 10 others that I had, because this is the name that just struck a chord with me. I was like, you know what? No matter what, I am going to keep this thing and like register a TM.
the name is actually very beautiful, like. And I want to go back a little bit here. When do you know that you want to go into design or into textiles?
I was in school as a very young kid. I've always been into arts and craft. I used to paint a lot. I used to do a lot of things. Of course, I wasn't like a painter and a great artist, but I wasn't bad at it. So arts was always an inclination since I was a child. I have done a lot of, like, I was at Canolia for 5-6 years. I did, so I think whatever Ahmedabad had to offer at that time in those years in terms of art, I've done it. So during my 10th, when I was deciding that, which site to go for and what do I know, I was actually going to go for fashion technology and not textile design. And I realized that to pursue fashion tech, you need to have science. And that's how I ended up taking science. And then I spoke to a lot of people. And my parents always were wanting me to stay nearby when it comes to college. They were not as open in terms of, okay, we let you go study outside and do things and stuff. So I said, okay, there's NIE, there's NIFT, of course, there was Pearl, Symbiosis, etc.
Yeah.
I get entrances for, I think, 4 or 5 design colleges. And I knew that no matter what, I am going to pursue either, whatever it will be fashion related.
Yeah.
If not fashion design or if not fashion tech. So right when I got into NIFT and I had to choose, one of my very dear seniors, they spoke to me and 2-3 people told me that in NIFT Gandhinagar, the fashion tech department is not as great as textile design. And they said that even though you've done science, a lot of it in terms of chemistry and physics will be used. So you can choose textile design if you get a good grade and if you get chosen in NIFT Gandhinagar. And I spoke to a lot of people and they're like, dude, Ahmedabad is the hub of textiles.
Yeah.
Why not?
Invert.
And I said, you know what, let's try that. So yeah, I ended up, because in NIFT, you haven't all India dancing, right?
Yeah.
So with those ranks, the people, like the first rank will have the first serve basis and they'll get to choose. So quickly, the seats in front of me were getting filled. And I think there were only 3 seats left in textile design when I took NIFT Gandhinagar for textiles. And I said, okay, if this is what it's supposed to be, then, and honestly, so many years ago, we didn't have so much, I'm not saying clarity, but it wasn't like, okay, I just want to do this, then I'll only do this. Because I was very like, okay, if not fashion design, then maybe accessory design, because anything that is creative is eventually always going to help me. So I said, okay, if I'm getting a good textile design seat, then why not? And then I chose textiles. Yeah, that is how I was a bachelor's in textile design by the end of the 4 years.
I love how things with you are very impromptu. Yeah. With the name as well.
And honestly, it's so much like none of this was planned.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it with a very this thing, the vengeance that this is what I want to do. I went with the flow, and of course, in that flow, I ended up doing styling as well. But yeah, that is how I will get to that in the next Q question.
So, how do you select Dhaga setting has evolved over the years? Like you started in the polish project, and now when you look at it, I mean, definitely there will be like a lot in it.
I think in terms of evolving, the funniest is that people think my name is Dhala and my surname is Saran, and I always have to tell them that my name is Shirali. But this is what I want to call my page and my brand, even though it has nothing to do with textiles anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with yarns or coloring. But because I felt so strongly about the name, I wanted to stick to it. But I feel from when I put that name on the book to now, more than the work, what has evolved is me.
Yeah.
Because the journey I have taken in these 11 years has been so instrumental in the kind of person that I am today. I was always more or less like this, but when you step out of your house, when you start working, when you start making a name on your own willpower and on your own determination without name dropping your parents or anyone, it's a very different experience.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm very grateful that I always had my parents' support no matter what. They're like, you want to do this, do it. You don't want to do it, don't do it. They were never after my life that, okay, if you've done this and if you've chosen this path, this is all you have to be. So that freedom gave me so much, what do you call it? Like peace of mind.
Yeah.
That no matter where I go in life, I know I'll always have that support and I'll always have Bhagasaran no matter what.
But also when you say that that your biggest has nothing to do with it, yeah, I think that Instagram itself is a digital book. If you look at it, yeah, it's a podcast, Oscars. I think that now maybe your life defects to happen because
Of course, it's more, my page now is, at first it started as a portfolio.
Yeah.
But because I have a website and my clients can just go to my website and look at all the work that I've done, now this is more like a digital diary where I share everything about my life, my food, my dog, my child, my everything, travels. But of course, Dhavasaram is now a brand name for fashion, for anything beauty, for anything textiles, for anything styling.
Yeah.
I know that when people hear that name, the first things that come to their mind are those things. Yeah. And I have always felt that because of social media, I'd be able to relate to people. People have related to me very easily because of the transparency that I bring to the page. And I am on my page like I am in person. I've never pretended to be someone else or something else.
Yeah.
So it is literally my digital diary. Even when I want to talk on my stories, I talk like this. So it's just, I feel somewhere the entire the concept of social media, of course, is somewhere very fickle and fake, and it's very people pretending to be what they're not.
Yeah.
But my social media has helped me garner an audience that is very, very loyal and very I have great supporters when it comes to my work and when it comes to my life, and I'm very thankful for that. So what social media has brought me in today's day and age, most of my work in the past few years has been via social media. So I'm very thankful for it.
I think that technology or social media, but if you look at it from a broader sense, I think that if we know how to use it and if we use it as a tool, it can definitely...
Yeah, your life is not depending on it. Yeah, my only reason for using social media is just so, because I'm on sabbatical right now, I want people to still feel connected. Yeah. I don't want to disappear for a year and a half or two and then be like, hey, I'm tired, give me work. It won't happen. People, out of sight, out of mind is a very, very real concept. And if you are out of sight, you're going to be very easily forgotten. But yeah, and I still do have clients who are like, are you getting back to work? When are you getting back to work? And I keep saying that just give me some time. I just need to pay attention to a different phase in my life right now, which needs a lot of attention. And then I'll be back when I think I have the mental bandwidth for it.
I admit the point where clients keep calling and asking me when you're coming back, it's sad to know that how amazing of a work that you're doing.
I mean, I hope. But no, I have a lot of loyalty clients who always, they like the way I work and they like my, there are a lot of stylists in Ahmedabad now. When I first started, there was no one, but I have a certain style out working and I'm very honest and very direct about things. And I'm sure not a lot of people might appreciate it, but there are a lot of people that love it. That, she's going to tell us how it is. She's not going to beat around the bush and, say things as they're not. So I have touch wood, in Ahmedabad and in Gujarat, I do have a handful of really loyal clients that keep asking me and they keep baiting that we'll wait for you, you know. Of course, they do shoots and stuff, but they still take my advice like, which model do we keep? Listen, I'm sending you the ideas. Listen, how do we do our makeup? And of course, I bindas tell them because their loyalty lies with me and mine lies with them as well.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think that if you have a very special connection with their clients, it totally plays.
Oh yeah, it plays a major role. It plays a major role in terms of also word of mouth because a place like Ahmedabad is so close knit that you will find one person knowing the other person in like a few minutes, you know. So word of mouth is very important, and that has kept me going for so long. Not social media, not the website. Of course, they are deciding factors, but the way people come to know of me is via word of mouth most.
Yeah. So, one question. What would the younger Shirali say to the Shirali now that's having a digital diary of Dhaba Sahel to when you created a tangible hand book that you could see, or a project for follies, and now it has transformed into.
I really think I would tell my younger self to take it easy. Because when we are young, we are determined, we really have a lot of dreams and projects that are in our mind. And of course, I was never impatient, thankfully, but I was always like comparing myself to others. I'm like, oh, you know, this person is doing that. They have a 9-to-5 job. They have a very stagnant life. They have a good earning. They do this, they do that. So that comparison part is not required at all. And the second is, honestly, live like and also work. Have a work-life balance. Your work should be everything to you, but it shouldn't take over your life. That is what I've learned in the past 11 years of being in the business.
I agree. And what would your younger self feel or tell you looking at
I'm not sure. I think my younger self would 100% be proud of the person that I am today. But I think that would be with everyone because we are ever evolving people, and most of us, 90% of the people evolve for the good. So in terms of meeting the right or the wrong people, in terms of doing so many projects, in terms of hustling, I really feel that I have, and I can say that with confidence now. I think probably 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said this, but I have made a name for myself in this industry, in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat, on my own, like through my own hard work and my willpower. And yeah, like 100% proud of you is the end. Yeah. That is what my younger self would tell.
I agree. I think that when you start or when you're in early years, even when I look back to, me a few years back where I was not sure about, what I want to study or what I'm going to do. But now when I look back and I see that everything was in front of me.
You just need to have clarity. You need to go around doing 10 things to find the one thing that is right for you. There's always permutations and combinations, and then you eventually, things will always fall in place. That's when I said take it easy, because eventually things will always work out. That's what I've felt it. Maybe it'll take its time, maybe it'll take its course, and do you feel in that moment, do you feel very let down? But I feel that eventually the universe will show you the path. Yeah.
So let's go a little back as well. Let's talk about when you started to work professionally. And when you started to style, and then you started to go out in the field when you were out of college, and you started with the Havasaran as your journey.
Yeah. So I think for the first few years, actually 1.5, 2 years easily, ever since I had started and told people that I am going to be working as a stylist, of course, I have a lot of friends and family that are very supportive, and they'll always like refer my name and everything. But at that time in 2013 or 14, styling as a concept was not, it wasn't alive in a place like Ahmedabad. And I remember I spent, I think, the entire year or two just explaining to people what styling is, because half of the people that are a lot elder to us at that age would think that I'm a fashion designer. So I had to keep telling them that fashion designing is not what I do. I am going to be styling models for photo shoots. And they're like, oh, so you make clothes? I was like, no. I'm going to source clothes from various designers that work for a shoot, etc. So yeah, long story short, I think the first few years was only me explaining to people that this is what, if you have a brand and if you're doing photo shoots, even though you are a designer, you need a stylist perspective to bring it all together. That is how my first 3 years went by. I remember just getting in my car, driving to different stores in Ahmedabad that were very famous at that time. I remember I had my business cards ready by when I was 18. And I would give them my business card. I would introduce myself. I had a small, it wasn't a website, but more like a PDF at that time. And I would tell them that this is what I've worked on in college and right after college. This is how I've styled my model friends. This is what you can do, etc. I'd pitch myself, and then I would wait for days or months, and no calls would come back. And then I think 2 years after I started off as a stylist, I got my first photo shoot. 2 years later. Again, a very dear friend's elder brother had a fashion label, and he said, "Oh, Shirali, would you like to help me?" And I said, "Please, yes." And that was my first ever shoot. And of course, they paid me, and it was a paid thing, and I got models on board. I did the entire location recce and got the photographer on board, did everything. And yeah, I think in 2014 or 15, I went my first shoot.
You said that you had to wait 2 years.
That was 2 years, yes. Because people didn't understand what styling is at all. So as soon as I started, and I remember right after my first shoot, I started doing home projects where I would be like, listen, if a model is free, come over. If a photographer is free, come over. Let's work on a storyboard. Let's do a shoot for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then I would start posting, and then the people would be like, oh, this is what styling is. This is what the editorial photo shoots are. This is what a fashion shoot looks like. And then now I don't even remember all of it, but yeah, eventually, of course, I started getting projects day in and day out, and then I got busy.
So, you had to wait 2 years, 2006. During that time, was there a place where you felt like, I'm not getting anything, or
yeah, of course. Every single day, every single night, I was like, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Will people in Ahmedabad ever understand what styling is? So then I started doing these little snippets on Facebook, because at that time, Instagram was very new. And I had popped 540 followers.
Wow.
And my actual page started from Facebook. And I would share a lot of styling tips. I would share a lot of everyday makeup hacks, everyday, how do you manage a basic wardrobe, things like that. I started putting on my Facebook. And that is how my Facebook page really, Facebook pages are not a thing anymore, but it was at that time. And then it started garnering a lot of views and stuff. And then I used to get calls from local magazines, oh, give us a bite for, writing 5 tips for New Year's Eve, for example.
Yeah.
So I would write for them, and that and people would be like, oh, we've heard about this, and this is great, and you give great styling tips. Then I started my Instagram page, and of course, it grew from there.
Can you tell us about Welcome Home? Because I saw
but so that is a series that I recently started, 2-3 months ago, I think.
I just want to say it is actually very nice. When I listened to one of these episodes, Banwavik, I love your background.
Only that is the painting in my house. Thank you so much. A lot of people have loved that. That is by a very brilliant artist from, I think, Poppy or Delhi. But yeah, that's always been my go-to. If I don't know where I should sit, that painting will work for me. So thank you. But yeah, Welcome Home is something that started Because after all these years, I've garnered a lot of knowledge about fashion, about brands, about designers, because I do so much sourcing for so many brands. I know of a lot of like small brands also, Ahmedabad based, India based, that had messaged me that whenever you have shoots, please take our staff, let's collaborate. And I said, you know what? Let me do something because I'm homebound right now, because a very different chapter of my life needs attention. This is something that I can spare time for. I'll do my research every noon. I'll think about a topic and I'm like, what do I want to talk about next? So I'll start looking for brand. I'll start seeing the kind of quality. I'll look at their website. I'll look at the price range. So I'm not even suggesting things that are exorbitant, because I know my audience doesn't want a simple, for example, like a cotton top for 30 grand or for 20 grand, So those are the things that I research about, and then I bring in brands and then I talk about them. And it's a completely pro bono, like no sponsors. In fact, I've had brands call me saying, just put us in, we'll send you money. I said, no, if I had to do that, I would take money from every brand, not just you. I don't want to do that. The reason why my audience trusts me blindly is because they know Shirali is just doing this to help us. I have no other intention except to keep myself busy, to keep my mind occupied, and so that I don't get out of touch with the fashion scene in India. So that is something that fuels me and my audience love. So I thought, let me just start that. And of course, in my first episode, I shared why I started the CTs. I've always been a bags and shoes and kind of fan. And I said, if I'm spending so much money buying such luxury goods every time I travel,
And then you become as a
yeah, and I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I have a closet full of bags and shoes and whatever other things. I'm done. I don't want to get any more. I'll use these bags and shoes and whatever happily. But now I want to buy things that are homegrown from Indian designers, but of course good quality. No kachras. Yeah, that I know. And even when I'm suggesting brands to people, there are so many brands that I'm like, oh, the ad looks really nice. But when I go to the profile, only one thing is good and the rest of the things are very average. So I don't post about them.
yeah.
So I feel even when I'm suggesting something, telling my audience about the quality, about the way it's made is very, very important. And yeah, that is how Welcome Home started. And it's something that I look forward to continuing for as much as I can. Yeah.
What is the inspiration behind the name?
Welcome Home.
Yeah.
Because, again, Indian brands and India is my home. I'm very patriotic as a human being. Like, I will have goosebumps if you start the national anthem right now, I'll be crying. But in terms of the fashion scene that I have seen in India post-COVID especially, there are some brands doing some amazing work. It is like it's at par with international brands. And I have seen it firsthand. I've seen those brands. I have a few of those things as well. And I said, home is where my heart is always. And India is what I want to talk about. And that is how, like, welcome home, as in, please come back to India to buy all of these things. May it be kids wear, may it be bags, shoes, clothing, is sari. There's so many things that some really exceptional people are working on. And I think India as a country is so rich in arts, craft, culture that you can never have, have a lack of creativity. I think all the people that are working on these lovely brands are some exceptionally talented human beings, and I think they deserve that recognition. Of course, not my 25,000 followers are not going to get any recognition, but I feel that even if it's helping them in some way, I'm more than happy to do it.
I think that if we look at India, isn't it is the true meaning of authenticity.
Oh yeah,
And that you won't get outside.
absolutely. The kind of karigars, the handwork, so many people work with their hand. Right now, machines are taking over, and to value that art, craft, and to help these karigars also to sustain their knowledge and their craft is very important. Otherwise, this will all die eventually. And there are so many nice kind of techniques and surface embellishments and techniques that so many carivers know are just with time really they don't get a lot of work, and I feel bad for them. Maybe jewelry, maybe textiles, maybe fabrics, whatever it is, if it's eventually helping someone in their house on their livelihood, then there's nothing like it.
I agree. And I think that when what machines do, I'm sorry, what our craftsmen do, machines can't. Or you won't even.
Not possible.
Yeah.
Not possible.
And I think that when we look at a fashion outside, or when we look at material outside, like the clothes, the material, that all came from India.
Yeah, it's also, I think if you just go anywhere in Europe, you look at the tags, it's like made in Pakistan, made in India, made in Bangladesh. It's all Asian, So it's all things coming from here that are going there
And then coming back.
and coming back.
Yeah.
So why not just start from home? Why not just buy things from home itself?
I think that when we send outside and then it's coming back, we are promoting that. We're not promoting us.
Exactly. So
So we have with,
100%, and I feel there's a lot of lack of pride for Indian karigars, artisans, and designers. Why not be here? This is your home ground, this is your country, and you should be proud of the kind of stuff that is coming out of it. And you should be very proud me, like where it is going.
I repeat. And you've also worked on Gujarati film sets.
Yes, I have. I've done 2 films.
Yeah.
And it was an experience. It was very tough doing the night shifts and all. I wasn't prepared to be awake all night and then sleep all day. It was just a very big shift in terms of just the usual routine that I'm used to. But it was a great learning experience in terms of seeing what a director does, what producers do, what an art director does, how actors perform. So over the course of those 2 films, I've learned and made some lovely friends and contacts through whom I've gotten so much other work as well. So great experience being on set. Very tiring, but very fulfilling. When you see your name on the big screen, it's a different feeling altogether. Even though it's Hollywood and it's Gujarati films, the Gujarati industry, and I'm very proud to be associated with that. And it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. After that also, I got a lot of requests for styling with Gujarati films. But during that time, now if you see in 2022, post 2022, I can see a difference in Gujarati cinema, that people are understanding styling and they're taking a lot of international styling, and at least Bombay styling is not international. They're getting influenced by Bollywood and doing fancy, nice things. At that time, it wasn't a lot. So I had to stick to creatively a very small circle and a bubble that they're oh, nah, the hero will only wear this. The heroine will only wear this. And I was just what, this is not my creativity. And I don't want to do it because I don't have that creative freedom. Of course, I try to push as much as I can, and I want to not a looks out of it, but still, the whole community of filmography and actors and everything is very different than day-to-day shoots, and I think I tried more in those day shifts than night shift for sure.
Agreed. Yeah. I think that when we look at it for third person perspective, what we see, I've never experienced anything like that, but from my perspective, what I see is that people coming on, and then people getting influenced by their style, and then people start copying, of course, especially when we're talking about the younger part of us. I've seen some people copying styles, and you really have fashion shows completely copy. Yeah. What are your views on people, creating something that is so iconic or so ideal, that, it sticks around and
Yeah.
not completely changes how people think. It completely grasps the attention of, like, the Agarbais more specifically.
I feel, for example, if you look at a Geet from Jagdi Met, yeah, okay, in those styles, or I don't know, like a Anushka Sharma from Ae Dil Hai Mushkil. Those Bollywood has a lot of influence in our day-to-day lives. All films, actually, or not just Bollywood. But I feel that it is very short-lived. Um, you stick to something because you can't find your own style. So when you start becoming a follower rather than just being influenced and taking like bits and parts, I feel then that's just like imposter syndrome. You're not your original self, your identities. You are not being you. And of course, there's nothing wrong in like completely copying a certain style. I just feel that add your little touch to it, because where is the originality? Where is your personal style? Where does your character come out? Like, how do your characteristics are defined by the kind of little things that you put on yourself, the way you wear your clothes, the way you wear your shoes, all of that. So I feel that being influenced is great, and all of that plays a very major part. Like filmography plays a major part, and even influencers nowadays play a major part in influencing this generation. If you guys and Amaki, but I feel there is a lack. Years ago, there was a lot of Ulush Daman, and now I feel whenever I look at these 20-year-olds, I feel they all look the same. Well, we were in college, every single student looked different.
Yeah.
From then to now, I'm like, why are they look like caricatures of each other? Why are you doing this to yourself? Why you not have an original style? And that makes me very sad, but I know I'm sure it'll change sometimes.
I think the major force behind it is fast fashion, or like
Fast fashion is killing everyone. It's killing a sense of self. It's killing a sense of individuality, and I think it should end. Also, I buy fast fashion. I'm not saying I will never buy a H&M or a Zara or a whatever. Masi. It's just that now I buy it very mindfully. Then I know kit denims. I know that this is the particular brand that works for me. Then I'll buy from them. But the rest, I feel slow fashion again is also very expensive. So for college OEX students, it's not viable for them to get and invest in slow brands. It's not possible to spend 8 grand of top. It's as simple as that. So I understand fast fashion, but style yourself differently, please. That's all I feel.
okay. And you also have the Target Pre Studio.
I shut that right after my baby came, but I had a photography studio years ago when I thought, there are so many photographers that just want to do indoor studio, like just for website shots or for Amazon marketplaces and stuff. They wanted a place. So I said, okay, I think now I have a well enough experience and bandwidth to start a small office that has a small space where they can come, get out the studio and do their thing. And it was a very small, like it wasn't a very crazy decision. But I had 2 friends. I took a lot of help from my photographer friends that I'd known through styling and shoots and stuff. And I said, listen, help me. What all do you need? And I'll bring all of those things. I'll invest in it, and then I'll get over that investment via rent through the photography studio. And that's how it just happened. And then there were a lot of like people coming for simple shoots and personal shoots as well. A lot of course, grand shoots and stuff. And now, of course, Ahmedabad has a lot of photography studios, and they're doing amazingly well because especially, for example, summers, people usually prefer, because Ahmedabad heat is cruel. So doing 14-hour shifts outdoors, we've done that. But now I think people want comfort. Even the models get really tired after 6 hours in the sun. So it's just better to have a studio, and I'm just glad that the whole like wave of photography and styling and studios is coming into Ahmedabad.
Many Ahmedabad has, as a city, has developed
So immensely. From when I started to now, there's like the graph has like shot up, and I'm very happy to see it. I'm very happy to see the kind of work people are putting in to not just photographers and stylists, but brand owners themselves.
Yeah.
There is so much knowledge about how you can market your product. The amount of budgets are increasing. They're really like understanding the importance of how well you can put your product out to sell it. So that's really important. I'm very happy for so many brands taking that step forward and understanding and being open-minded about it. And not just being in that, like 10 years ago कि we've done this, हमने तो ये किया है, तब बिकता था, हम यही करेंगे. And I'm very happy to see them is evolved as brands as well.
And to end, I have one last question for you. What advice would you give to younger women who are starting to come into the space?
It's not glamorous. So firstly, anything fashion related, Devil Wears Prada is not what you're going for.
Yeah.
You're going for more, I don't even know. Okay. It's not glamorous at all. There is a lot of hard work. And you have to be patient. Nothing is going to come and fall into your lap. At least it didn't happen. Maybe things have changed now for sure. But yeah, if you're freelancing and if you are doing your own thing, you have to be ready for months and months of no for.
Yeah.
You have to keep your mind busy so that you don't fall into that whole, I don't have work. You'll end up feeling low or depressed. Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
Always have a side hustle. Always have another hobby. Because if you're freelancing, if you don't have a 9 to 5, there is no guarantee there are times when I didn't get time to breathe for 6 months. And then the next 2 months, I was just like, what do I do? Because when it comes to fashion, there are seasons, right?
Yeah.
So right before the season, we are very busy because they want to release the images and the lookbooks before the season starts. So we're very busy during that time. But for example, during the wedding season, no one is shooting because all photographers are busy with wedding.
Yeah.
So just an example. So you have to be ready for the highs and lows of owning and working on your own terms. Have that strength to tell yourself each day that it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not getting work today. It's okay. I'm not getting work tomorrow. It's okay. It will come. Also, if you're good, there is no stopping you. So, and of course, the reason why I'm stressing so much on if you're good is because you need to have that self-awareness that this is what I'm good at and this is not my forte. For example, a lot of brands have told me that Chirali ji, aap model bhi to styling kar lete ho. Can we do like product photography? Can you do that? And I said, oh, I'm horrible at it. I cannot visualize a product on a piece of paper. I can only visualize it on a human being.
Yeah.
So you have to be that transparent with yourself also that this is what I'm good at and this is what I'm not good at. So if you know your strengths and your weaknesses, you'll be good. There will be hustle the first few years, but then once you're set, it's great. And it's a very fulfilling time in your life when you're earning and when you have your own name and you're earning your money and you're hiring people, and it's very like it gives you a lot of confidence, self-confidence as well in yourself.
I agree completely. Alfonso, we have this thing called Femping of Ties. It's an amplifier. And you can answer in one word, one line. But okay. So if Dhaga Saram were to be a color, what would it?
Oh, my logo is comprised of 3 colors. So it's a lime green, it's a magenta, and it's an orangey, this thing. So I think those 3 colors.
But one.
One, I think, is because my brand it constitutes of sarang is coloring.
Yeah.
So I did all colors. I cannot choose one color, but if it all I had to, it'll be yellow. Yeah.
And sari or
Sweat.
sorry, sari or streetwear? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Sari hai be streetwear. These Gen people get streetwear. Can't ya?
Okay. One styling tip and always works.
If it's always better to be underdressed than overdressed.
And one fashion trend you wish would disappear.
Lots of Gen Z fashion trends need to disappear. But no, jokes apart, those biker shorts and those really awfully chunky boots
Yeah.
cannot.
And one dream celebrity you'd wish to sight.
Oh, that's a good one. I've never actually thought about this. But I feel with the kind of styling that I do, either someone like Sanya Malhotra or I would love to style someone like Rani Mukherjee. Yeah. So stupid. Those are the only two people that I can think of. Right?
I love your perspective and your take on, things.
I'm glad.
But this is it for today's podcast.
Thank you so much. And I hope you got all the answers that you were looking for. And I had so much fun and thank you for having me here.
I did too.
I wish you all the best for all your future endeavors. And, honestly, looking at all like people your age doing so much, number one, the fact that you guys had so much at your disposal in terms of, we would never imagine like so many years ago sitting with ring lights and cameras and mics and doing a podcast. And you guys are very lucky to be in a generation where you genuinely have a lot of technology to support you, and that's fantastic. I wish we had all of that during our times. It would have been a completely different journey. But of course, every journey has its pros and cons. So yeah, us hustling out in the sun was also a very different experience altogether. But I wish you all the very best for whatever you want to achieve.
Thank you so much.